Right now, someone in your life might be using their tears as a psychological weapon against you. Those heartfelt sobs, that trembling voice, those glistening eyes, they could all be part of a calculated performance designed to manipulate your emotions and control your behavior. Welcome to Mind Vault, where we expose the dark side of human psychology. Today, I'm revealing one of the most devastating manipulation tactics in existence: weaponized emotions. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to tell the difference between genuine tears and crocodile tears, and more importantly, how to protect yourself from emotional manipulators who use your compassion against you. But first, let me blow your mind with this disturbing fact. According to research from the University of California, some people can produce tears on command with the same ease that most people can smile or frown. These aren't actors or performers, these are everyday manipulators who have trained themselves to weaponize one of humanity's most sacred emotional expressions. Here's what makes fake tears so devastating: they exploit our deepest evolutionary programming. When we see someone crying, our brains automatically release oxytocin and activate our mirror neurons, making us feel compelled to comfort and protect the person in distress. Emotional manipulators know this, and they use it like a master key to unlock your empathy and bypass your rational thinking. The scariest part? Most people never learn to distinguish between real and fake emotional displays because we're taught from childhood that questioning someone's tears makes us heartless. But I'm about to show you that learning to identify fake tears isn't cruel, it's essential for protecting your mental health and maintaining healthy relationships. Let me start by explaining the psychology behind genuine tears versus manufactured ones. When someone experiences authentic emotional distress, their entire nervous system responds in coordinated ways that are almost impossible to fake completely. Real crying involves the sympathetic nervous system, which controls involuntary responses like heart rate, breathing patterns, and muscle tension. Genuine emotional tears typically include several physiological markers: irregular breathing with occasional gasps or shudders, flushed face and neck area, slight trembling in the voice that comes and goes naturally, tears that flow from both eyes relatively equally, and subtle changes in posture that indicate genuine vulnerability. But here's the key insight that most people miss: authentic emotional displays are usually somewhat disorganized and uncontrolled. When someone is genuinely upset, they're not thinking about how they look or sound, they're simply experiencing and expressing their emotions. Their crying might be messy, their words might be unclear, and they might even try to stop crying because it feels vulnerable. Fake tears, on the other hand, are performances. And like any performance, they require conscious control and planning. This creates tells that trained observers can learn to recognize. Let me walk you through the specific techniques that emotional manipulators use and how to spot them. Technique number 1 is called the timing trigger. Manipulative tears almost always appear at strategically convenient moments, right when you're about to confront them about their behavior, just as you're setting a boundary, or immediately after they've done something wrong that requires accountability. Pay attention to the timing of emotional outbursts. If someone consistently becomes tearful whenever they're faced with consequences or criticism, that's a red flag. Genuine emotions can certainly be triggered by confrontation, but manipulative tears are specifically designed to derail accountability conversations and make you feel guilty for addressing legitimate concerns. I once knew someone who would start crying every single time their partner tried to discuss their spending habits. The tears would appear within 30 seconds of the conversation starting, and they were always accompanied by statements like, "I can't believe you think I'm irresponsible with money," or "It hurts so much that you don't trust me." The tears weren't about the money, they were about avoiding a conversation that might lead to changed behavior. Technique number 2 is the instant on-off switch. One of the most telling signs of fake tears is how quickly they can be turned on and off. Genuine emotional distress doesn't have an immediate stop button. When someone is authentically upset, it takes time for their nervous system to regulate and return to baseline. Watch what happens immediately after the emotional display ends. Do they instantly return to normal conversation? Can they immediately shift to anger or indignation? Do they seem perfectly composed moments after being devastated? These rapid emotional transitions are hallmarks of performed rather than felt emotions. Real grief, sadness, or distress creates an emotional hangover effect. People who have been genuinely crying need time to collect themselves, blow their nose, and maybe splash water on their face. They don't instantly pivot to detailed logical arguments or complex explanations. Technique number 3 is the selective audience effect. Manipulative tears tend to appear primarily when there's an audience that the manipulator wants to influence. They might cry dramatically in front of you but be perfectly composed when talking to their friends about the same issue. This is different from the normal human tendency to feel safer expressing emotions with certain people. Manipulative crying is specifically calibrated based on what response the manipulator wants to achieve. They might cry to make you feel guilty, but use anger to intimidate someone else and use charm to manipulate a third person, all regarding the same situation. Pay attention to consistency across different relationships and situations. If someone's emotional responses seem to vary dramatically based on their audience rather than the actual circumstances, that's a strong indicator of manipulation. Technique number 4 is the narrative control mechanism. When manipulators cry, they often do it while simultaneously telling a very specific story about what the tears mean. They don't just cry, they cry while explaining exactly how you should interpret their emotions and what you should do in response. They might say things like, "I'm crying because I love you so much and I can't bear the thought of losing you," or "These tears show how much I care about our relationship," or "I'm crying because I'm hurt that you would think I could do something like that." Notice how these statements aren't just expressing emotion, they're directing your interpretation of the emotion and prescribing your response. Genuine emotional expression is usually less articulate and less directive. When people are authentically upset, they're focused on their internal experience, not on managing your reaction to their internal experience. Technique number 5 is the sympathy harvesting system. Manipulative tears are often accompanied by statements designed to position the manipulator as a victim and you as someone who's causing harm. The goal isn't just to express sadness, it's to make you feel guilty, responsible, and compelled to fix the situation by giving the manipulator what they want. Listen for phrases like, "You're making me cry." Statements like, "I can't believe you're putting me through this and why are you doing this to me?" exemplify manipulative tears. Or, "I thought you cared about my feelings." These statements shift responsibility for the manipulator's emotional state onto you and frame your legitimate concerns as attacks on their well-being. Compare those phrases to authentic emotional expressions, which usually focus on the person's internal experience rather than blaming others for causing it. Someone genuinely upset might say, "I feel really hurt," rather than "You're hurting me." Now let me show you the specific contexts where fake tears are most commonly deployed. In romantic relationships, manipulative tears often appear during arguments about infidelity, financial irresponsibility, or other serious behavioral issues. The tears serve to shift focus from the manipulator's actions to their emotional state, making their partner feel cruel for making them cry instead of addressing the actual problem. In family dynamics, manipulative tears are frequently used by parents to control adult children or by adult children to manipulate parents. The manipulator might cry about feeling unloved, unappreciated, or abandoned whenever family members try to set healthy boundaries or refuse unreasonable requests. In workplace settings, manipulative tears often appear when someone is confronted about poor performance, inappropriate behavior, or ethical violations. The tears are designed to make supervisors or colleagues feel uncomfortable about holding the person accountable. In friendship dynamics, fake tears might be used to guilt friends into providing constant emotional support, financial assistance, or special treatment. The manipulator positions themselves as constantly victimized by circumstances while expecting others to continuously rescue them. Here's how to protect yourself from emotional manipulation. Strategy number 1: learn to separate someone's emotional display from the validity of their position. Even if someone is genuinely upset, that doesn't automatically mean their perspective is correct or that you should change your behavior to accommodate their emotions. You can acknowledge someone's feelings without accepting responsibility for managing those feelings or changing your boundaries to prevent those feelings. You might say something like, "I can see that you're upset, and I understand this is difficult for you. At the same time, we still need to address the issue we were discussing." Strategy number 2: pay attention to patterns rather than individual incidents. One episode of conveniently timed tears might be coincidental. A consistent pattern of tears that always appear during accountability conversations is almost certainly manipulative. Keep mental notes or even written records of when emotional outbursts occur and what triggers them. If you notice that someone consistently becomes emotional whenever you try to discuss their behavior, set boundaries, or hold them accountable, you're dealing with manipulation. Strategy number 3: maintain your emotional boundaries during someone else's emotional display. Manipulative tears are designed to flood you with guilt, sympathy, and the urgent need to fix the situation. Resist the impulse to immediately comfort, apologize, or change your position. You can be compassionate without being manipulated. Try saying something like, "I can see you're upset." You can express compassion without being manipulated. Consider saying, "I understand that you are upset. Let us take a break and revisit this conversation when you feel more composed." This approach acknowledges their feelings while ensuring that important discussions remain on track. Strategy number 4: assess authenticity by observing consistency. This acknowledges their emotion without allowing it to derail important discussions. Strategy number 4: test for authenticity by observing consistency. If someone claims to be devastated by a situation, their behavior in other contexts should reflect that level of distress. If they can laugh, socialize normally, or engage in enjoyable activities immediately after being heartbroken, their emotional display was likely performed rather than felt. Strategy number 5: have faith in your instincts regarding emotional authenticity. Most people have intuitive abilities to distinguish between genuine and fake emotions, but we're often taught to suppress these instincts in favor of being nice or understanding. If something feels off about someone's emotional display, pay attention to that feeling. Now, I want to address a crucial concern. How do you protect yourself from manipulation without becoming callous toward genuine human emotion? This is a valid worry, and it's exactly what manipulators count on. Your fear of becoming heartless makes you vulnerable to emotional exploitation. The key is understanding that protecting yourself from manipulation actually makes you more available for authentic emotional connection. When you're not being drained by manipulative people, you have more emotional resources for the people in your life who are genuinely struggling and deserve your support. Learning to identify fake tears doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. It allows you to respond appropriately to real emotional needs while protecting yourself from those who would exploit your compassion. Here are some advanced techniques for dealing with suspected emotional manipulation. The validation without submission approach. You can acknowledge someone's emotional state without changing your position or behavior. Try saying, "I hear that you're feeling hurt, and I'm sorry you're in pain. At the same time, I need to maintain this boundary because it's important for both of us." The delayed response method. Instead of immediately responding to emotional displays, take time to process what happened. Tell the person you need some time to think and that you'll continue the conversation later. This gives you space to evaluate whether the emotion felt genuine and whether your response should change based on their emotional state. The consistency check. If someone claims to be emotionally devastated by a situation, follow up over time to see if their behavior matches their claimed emotional state. Genuine emotional distress tends to have lasting effects, while performed distress often disappears as soon as it's no longer useful. The support offer test. If someone seems genuinely distressed, offer specific types of support to see how they respond. Manipulators often want you to change your behavior or give them something, while genuinely distressed people usually appreciate emotional support or practical help. Let me share some real-world examples of how to apply these principles. If your romantic partner cries every time you try to discuss their suspicious behavior, you might say, "I can see this conversation is upsetting to you, but these are important concerns that we need to address. Let's take a break now, but we're going to continue this discussion tomorrow when we've both had time to collect ourselves." If a family member becomes tearful every time you decline their requests for money, you might respond, "I understand you're disappointed, and I wish I could help in the way you're asking. My decision about lending money isn't going to change, but I'm happy to help you brainstorm other solutions." If a colleague cries when confronted about missed deadlines, you might say, "I can see you're upset about this feedback. Take a few minutes to collect yourself, and then let's focus on creating a plan to get these projects back on track." The most important thing to remember is that you're not responsible for managing other people's emotions, even when those emotions are genuine. Healthy relationships involve people taking responsibility for their own emotional regulation while offering mutual support during difficult times. Manipulative relationships involve one person using their emotions to control another person's behavior. Learning to distinguish between these dynamics is essential for maintaining your mental health and building authentic connections. If this video opened your eyes to emotional manipulation tactics you didn't recognize before, you need to subscribe to Mind Vault right now. We're building a community of people who understand psychological manipulation and want to protect themselves while still maintaining their capacity for genuine human connection. Next week, I'm revealing the specific body language signs that indicate someone is lying to you, including micro-expressions that flash across people's faces for less than a quarter of a second but reveal their true thoughts and intentions. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss it, and let me know in the comments, have you ever suspected that someone in your life was using fake tears to manipulate you? What signs made you question the authenticity of their emotional displays? Remember, protecting yourself from manipulation isn't selfish, it's essential. The better you become at recognizing fake emotions, the more energy you'll have for supporting people who are genuinely struggling and deserve your compassion. Until next time, stay wise, stay compassionate, and keep unlocking the secrets of authentic human connection.